Israel's economic strategy aims for growth and global connection. European and North American immigrants, well educated and skilled, played a crucial role in boosting Israel's economy after 1948. They brought expertise and innovation. Despite changing jobs, their skills, combined with new universities and research centers, fueled economic progress. But this success story isn't without debate. It sparks discussions about policies and economic development. Join us in today's video as we explore the world surrounding Israel's economic growth. The story of modern Israel kicks off in the 1880s when the first Zionist immigrants arrived in Palestine, which was then ruled by the Ottoman Empire. They joined the small existing Jewish community, built farms and industries, revived Hebrew as the national language, and set up new economic and social systems. World War I hit hard, reducing the Jewish population to 56,000. After the war, Palestine was ruled by Britain, and their Balfour Declaration supported a Jewish homeland. In 1920, the League of Nations formalized British control. During the British Mandate, the foundations for the future of Israel were laid out. Jewish and Arab economies grew separately, with Jewish immigration and capital playing a vital role in Jewish sector expansion. By 1947, the Jewish population had reached 630,000, making up 35% of the total population. Mass immigration led to economic growth, but also brought recessions and periods of adjustment. Between 1922 and 1947, the Jewish part of the economy in the region saw impressive growth. Their net domestic product, NDP, increased by an average of 13.2% during this time, making up 54% of the total NDP for both Jewish and Arab economies by 1947. The income per person in the Jewish sector also grew, becoming 8.5 times larger than in 1922 and 2.5 times larger than the Arab sector. While agriculture was a significant focus, it never exceeded 15% of the Jewish economy's total NDP. Manufacturing, though slow initially, took off during World War II when Palestine was a key supplier to the British military. By the end of 1947, manufacturing represented a quarter of the NDP. Housing construction, although a smaller part of the economy, played a crucial role and could lead to economic ups and downs. The services sector was a major player, contributing more than half of the total NDP. This included modern education, healthcare, strong financial and business sectors, and semi-governmental Jewish institutions that later took on government-like responsibilities. In May 1948, Israel was born during a war with its Arab neighbors. This brought significant economic challenges, funding the war, welcoming immigrants from Europe and Cyprus, ensuring basic needs for everyone, and building a functional government. Creating a government structure was relatively smooth, since existing Jewish institutions became government departments. Ceasefire agreements were made in 1949. By the end of 1951, around 685,000 immigrants had arrived, doubling the Jewish population. Meeting immediate needs involved strict measures and rationing. Housing and jobs for newcomers were tackled gradually. In 1952, a new economic plan emerged, involving changes in exchange rates, easing price controls, and tightening the money supply. Immigration efforts slowed to absorb the earlier arrivals. From 1950 to 1965, Israel experienced impressive economic growth. Their gross national product, GNP, increased by over 11% annually, and per-person GNP grew by more than 6%. How did they do it? Well, they received a lot of money from various sources. The U.S. gave them aid and loans. Germany paid reparations and restitutions, and they sold Israeli bonds abroad. There was also money for public institutions, like the Jewish Agency, which helped with immigration and settlement. This extra cash allowed Israel to invest heavily thanks to a special government budget. They had big needs and a government that believed in getting involved in the economy. The government used budgets and protectionist policies to encourage local industries, especially textiles, and supported exports alongside traditional products like citrus and diamonds. In the decades from the mid-1960s onwards, the Arab-Israeli conflict played a big role in shaping Israel's economy. This had a huge impact on their economic growth, policy changes, and ups and downs. The Six-Day War in 1967 was a huge deal. It led to Israel taking control of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Israel was then in charge of the political and economic aspects of these places. They combined the Arab parts of Jerusalem with the Jewish section and started settlements in the captured areas. To protect these settlers, they invested a lot in the area's infrastructure. There was a mix-up of the economies between Israel and these captured territories. They traded goods and services but limited some products from being sold to Israel. Palestinian workers were hired in Israel, mostly in construction and farming. While this provided a boost to the Palestinian economy, it didn't affect Israel's economy much, except in construction and agriculture. The Palestinian economy grew quickly for some time but had ups and downs, especially during times of conflict. Even though their income compared to Israel's grew for a while, by 1998 it decreased. In the 1990s, a deal was struck between Israel and the Palestinians as part of their peace efforts. This agreement started as a one-sided customs deal favoring Israel, but it evolved into a more balanced customs union by 1994. While Israel still controlled the overall trade policy, the Palestinians gained some control over imports. However, things took a downturn with the violent uprisings, intifadas, in the 2000s. Israel imposed severe restrictions, including limiting Palestinian employment in Israel and even taking back some areas previously under Palestinian control. These actions had a major negative impact on the Palestinian economy, wiping out years of progress. One significant economic consequence of the Arab-Israel conflict is that Israel allocates a large part of its budget for defense. The size of the defense budget varies, increasing during wars and conflicts. In the early 2000s, the defense budget alone reached a substantial portion of Israel's GDP. Thankfully, the United States has provided substantial aid, primarily for defense needs. This complex relationship between Israel and the Palestinians and the ongoing conflict has far-reaching economic implications for both sides, as well as Israel's reliance on U.S. support. Israel's economic journey has seen both ups and downs. In the early years, it experienced rapid income growth, but this slowed down after 1973. GDP growth varied between 2 and 5%, with some peaks and valleys. By the end of the 20th century, the income per person was around $20,000, like in other developed countries. Economic changes often followed waves of immigration. Large numbers of newcomers required time to settle into the workforce, boosting economic activity. While immigration never reached the same levels as in the early years, it surged again when restrictions on emigration from the Soviet Union were lifted. This brought over 1 million immigrants in the 1990s, contributing significantly to Israel's labor force. As the economy evolved, agriculture became less important, and industry took up a bigger share. High-tech industries, especially electronics, gained prominence. However, economic fluctuations led to periods of inflation and unemployment, and drastic measures were taken to stabilize the economy. Inflation was tamed from extremely high levels in the 1980s to zero by 2005, but challenges like unemployment persisted, partly due to external factors and domestic unrest. The path of Israel's economy has been a complex one, marked by adaptation and transformation over the years. In the past, Israel had strict government controls over its economy. However, things began to change in the 1960s when policymakers realized that too much government intervention was holding the economy back. They also saw the European Union forming and decided to gradually open their economy. This process started with changes in foreign trade. Import restrictions were replaced by tariffs, which were gradually reduced. Instead of relying on protection and subsidies, Israel encouraged both import substitution and exports by using more realistic exchange rates. They made trade agreements with the European Economic Community and the United States. By 1977, Israel had already made significant progress in liberalizing its economy. They switched to a floating exchange rate system and relaxed restrictions on capital movements. Unfortunately, this led to high inflation, slowing down the liberalization of capital flows. It wasn't until the early 2000s that capital movements were fully liberalized. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Israel continued to make changes in areas like monetary policy and domestic capital markets. The government reduced its role in the economy but increased its involvement in areas like healthcare and social welfare. Transfer payments, like unemployment benefits and pensions, became a significant part of the budget, helping to address income inequality. From 2003 onward, the Ministry of Finance made a concerted effort to reduce welfare payments, encourage more people to work, privatize government, owned enterprises, and shrink the government's size. This shift was driven by the belief that a truly free market economy was necessary to compete in the globalized world. As Israel strides into the new century, its economy shines with ongoing innovation, proving its ability to adapt to economic ups and downs. Yet it grapples with significant challenges to many other developed nations. How to balance embracing new, more advanced industries while leaving behind less competitive ones without causing job upheaval and widening income gaps. The country, being small, must also navigate the global economy dominated by the EU, the US, and the emerging power of China. And with this, we reach the end of today's video. What do you think about today's video? Share your opinion. Do let us know in the comment section below. And if you liked today's video, give us a thumbs up. And do not forget to hit the subscribe. Share this video with your friends and family, and press the bell icon for more upcoming videos. We'll see you next time with a newer video. Stay tuned and take care.